Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to virtually address you on the occasion of the World Indigenous Forum. This event is highlighting the importance of multi-stakeholderism as a principle in bringing together a wide range of partners from the public and business sector in the identification of concrete actions to support Indigenous peoples and their work in the years to come. This is particularly timely in view of the upcoming International Decade of Indigenous Languages, starting in 2022, for which UNESCO will act as the lead UN agency in collaboration with other partners. I would like to begin my intervention with a central question: why languages are important for development, and why should we support language users, particularly Indigenous peoples? UNESCO firmly believes that linguistic rights are an integral component of human rights and fundamental freedoms. A person's freedom to use her or his chosen language is a prerequisite to freedom of thought, freedom of opinion and expression. Language is a primary vector for communicating and accessing information and knowledge as the essential resources for development, growth and cooperation. Language determines access to quality education, provides employment opportunities, and contributes to our well-being. Language also opens new avenues to equal and full participation in society. It is closely connected to our identity, values, and culture. Yet, world's languages are disappearing at an alarming rate. There is evidence demonstrating that global linguistic diversity has long been in decline. There are over 6,000 languages in the world today. However, about 2,500 of them are at risk of becoming extinct. Some languages are spoken only by few families. When talking about languages, we first talk about the users who take decisions to use language in their daily life, depending on their social, cultural, economic, political, and demographic situation. UNESCO defines endangered languages as those where children no longer learn the language as their mother tongue in the home environment, and the younger speakers of the language are the grandparents. It is estimated, and in the next 10 or more years, more severely endangered languages will go silent. There are many reasons why languages go silent. However, often it is due to the social and economic pressures pushing language users to shift to dominant languages, employment, ongoing conflicts, humanitarian crisis, globalization, migration, climate change, and many other factors. For several decades, UNESCO has been promoting linguistic diversity and multilingualism in a view of capacity to express and to reconcile ideas, systems of knowledge and values of people from different cultural, social, economic, religious, and professional backgrounds. Language is therefore a key contributor to dialogue, reconciliation, tolerance, and peace in our societies. Such role of languages applies also to the business sphere, as we allow the externalization of our ideas and thoughts, facilitating valuable exchanges and identification of new opportunities for innovation. Indigenous peoples are custodians of vast assets of knowledge, wisdom, associate skills that are contained in their own languages. By preserving and promoting these languages, we contribute to the maintenance and the use of this precious and yet undiscovered knowledge, which has the potential to open new paths for business and investments. In the context of the ongoing global pandemic, languages play an even more central role. As proven in previous humanitarian crises, such as Ebola and Zika virus, when information is provided in languages what people can understand best, many lives can be saved. UNESCO intensifies its efforts to ensure access to reliable and accurate health information in languages that are best understood by Indigenous peoples by compiling relevant resources in cooperation with different partners. If language lost affects all spheres of life, what can we do together? Let me begin with a recent initiative. In 2019, the world celebrated the International Year of Indigenous Languages. It was a unique opportunity to raise awareness of a global community about critical situation of many indigenous languages. We saw what partners from 78 countries demonstrated their commitment to revert the situation and expressed a strong desire for change. Nearly 900 activities and concrete initiatives to support indigenous languages were launched. A community of practice with some 3,000 users was created in order to build new synergies and mobilize resources for the preservation of these languages. Our tireless efforts did not go unnoticed and led a great understanding by different actors. It is in this context that in December 2019, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, which will provide an unprecedented platform for long-term, joint, targeted actions for the promotion of linguistic diversity and multilingualism worldwide. In 2019, we reached a great deal of requests to provide small or large-scale funding for the implementation of projects on language documentation, revitalization, in particular in the area of digital inclusion. Most requests were submitted by indigenous peoples and local communities, looking for seed funds to launch community initiatives, create language tools and resources, or provide essential language services locally. Some wanted to ensure continuity of financial support for the already initiated projects. We could see that all of these proposals presented unexplored business opportunities. This is why UNESCO is currently conducting a feasibility study for the establishment of a multi-donor funding mechanism for the International Decade, which will facilitate accommodation of the demands received and create new advantages for development, growth and investment. Key recommendations for the future actions had been put together in the Los Pinos Declaration, outcome document of a high-level closing event of International Year that took place in Mexico in February 2020. Among strategic considerations summarized in the outcome document, there are many which cover business-related aspects, including the creation of an enabling environment for indigenous entrepreneurship, a small business, development of new goods and services based on indigenous knowledge, creativity, innovation, and respecting ethical and legal principles. Several important recommendations were addressed to major IT and tech companies, building a solid case for a greater digital inclusion of indigenous languages in cyberspace and creation of innovative models to harness technology for the preservation, support, promotion of languages. Let me share with you a few examples of ongoing work at UNESCO in this area. UNESCO had developed improved methodologies for assessing language endangerment and systematically collected data on minority, lesser used and endangered languages. This will serve as a reference for policy and decision makers that have the potential to inform our business models that prioritize the needs of indigenous language users. A main initiative in this field is the upcoming launch of UNESCO World Atlas of Languages, a global tool providing a detailed record and reliable data about the world's languages, collected in close collaboration with UNESCO Institute of Statistics and with the support of leading experts. The digital platform will include new features for collaborative work, knowledge and content sharing, providing a space for the online community. Later in 2021, UNESCO will also publish a World Report of Languages, which will provide a situation analysis of linguistic diversity. If you wish to discover new users, partners and future customers, you should promote linguistic diversity and multilingualism in cyberspace. There is no development without participation, and indigenous people must be an integral part of the development process. Indigenous youth in particular should be involved in language revitalization, as we can contribute to the facilitation of impact investment and development of alternative ways of doing business what are adapted to the future generations of language users. This is why, in line with UNESCO's 2003 recommendation concerning the promotion and use of multilingualism and universal access to cyberspace, a unique normative instrument, UNESCO encourages all member states to take concrete measures for the development of multilingual content, tools and systems, and establishment of professional networks and partnerships. UNESCO therefore strongly supports the involvement of indigenous peoples, as well as indigenous businesses and companies in the international decade, through the mobilization of resources, launch of new initiatives, and development of relevant tools and services that would harness the value of indigenous languages. Good ideas always find resources and people who are ready to stand behind them. This is why we decided to attend the World Indigenous Forum, as we believe what business needs good ideas, committed and creative people who are ready to take risks for a good cause. UNESCO can facilitate relevant exchanges between those who have ideas. The International of Indigenous Languages 2019 network of indigenous organizations and partners, and those who are ready to support them. We are also here as we believe that fruitful partnerships, cooperation and dialogue at all levels are the most effective means to advance towards positive change in our societies. In conclusion, by supporting indigenous languages and their users, you will open new avenues for your business and contribute to a fairer and more inclusive world. Join our global efforts to make a decade of action for indigenous languages. Thank you for your attention, and sincere greetings from UNESCO headquarters in Paris.